Long ago, on an island far from Aotearoa, a young man called Rata wanted to find his father and needed to travel with all his people away from the island. He needed a very large waka that could carry all the people through storms and through the ocean, through Te Moana to a new land. He didn't have one. He spoke to the elders, he spoke to the kuia, he spoke to the rangatira, and he decided that he would go out and he would find the tallest, straightest, most beautiful Totara tree to make his waka. He left his family digging for kumara and working in the fields, and he went inland through Te Ngahere, through Te Rako, and farewelling his sister and his mother, and giving a hongi to the old kuia who guided him. And then he took his axe, which was different from our axes, and he went in search. He set out on a path. He walked for many days, trying to find the most perfect tree. It took him a long time, but when he found it, it was beautiful. He knew it would make the straightest, tallest waka, and he set to work. It was hard work. And Te Ngahere was full of life, of birds and manu and the kereru and the tui and the huia. It was a beautiful place, and the piwaka and the insects and the beetles and the flies and the dragonflies. It was a very, very alive and vibrant place deep in the heart of the green Ngahere, until eventually he had felled it. And he set to work to make it into a canoe, but it was too big a job for one day. So he left it and returned to his whare and his whānau and waited till the following day, when once again he farewelled his family and set out on the long walk back to where he had felled the Totara tree. Well, you can imagine his amazement when he got there to discover, well, at first he couldn't believe it. He thought he was in the wrong place because he couldn't see the tree. And then he realized, yes, he could see the tree, but it was perfectly upright and was no longer lying on the ground, surrounded by wood chips and sawdust and broken branches. There it was, in all its perfection, the way it was when he first saw it. Well, he had no choice but to get out his axe and to chop it down again, which he did, manfully sweating it out for the whole day. He was tired because he worked the whole day before as well. And finally it fell. And he was happy with that and returned to the marae and his family and slept. When he returned the next day, once more, he was very, very surprised, bewildered, a little bit angry even. All that work, and the tree was now standing. What magic was this? So this time, he cut it down, much as he had the times before. But he had a plan, because he wasn't going to go home. Not this time. No. Once he had felled the tree, he looked for a place where he could hide and wait until evening. He waited there, and he was not disappointed, because suddenly the air was filled with the sound of birds and beetles and insects and all the animals of Te Ngahere and Tane Mahuta's children, the children of Tane they were called. Every living creature, and the patuparehe, the fairies, and the other animals were all there, working, picking up every single wood chip and every single grain of sawdust and reassembling the entire tree, lifting it together back till it was erect and strong as ever. And Tane emerged from his hidey hole, and he called out to them. He said, "What is this mischief? What are you doing with my tree and undoing all my hard work?" And they looked at him and they said, You forgot to greet Tane Mahuta, the god of the forest. You never asked, you never thanked, you never asked for permission. You just took it. This is not how you work." And Tane and Rata was ashamed and realized they were right, that he had behaved without respect, without gratitude, and he had not said the karakia. And so then he did. and he spoke the words that he should have said in the beginning, and he thanked them for reminding him about how to have respect. And they said that that was okay, and that they would return his gift of the karakia with their gift. And they created the most beautiful waka for him, and they carried it to the village. And the people of Rata and all his family and the entire tribe and iwi were able to travel from that island in search of Rata's father, and came safely to Aotearoa. Here is the finished mat that I took down to a hangareo down in the Waikato and told the story, which was brave and went very okay. And here we are back, just further images of the mat out on my deck. Also, it had a very beautiful reverse side. So, yes, it was a beautiful thing to make, and I learnt so much about what was actually involved in cutting down a Totara tree. It was a big deal. This was the back. It's not completely finished there, but you see I've been looking at patterns of kōwhaiwhai to work it out. It'd be quite nice to make another one sometime. But that's the story of Rata and the Totara tree.